And we're back from the outstanding episode of the Square Table Degenerates podcast. Today we are joined by legendary actress of the silver and small screen, Miss Carolyn Hennesy. How are you today?
I love that. I love that. Legendary. I don't think of myself like that, so I'm always a little stunned. But hello.
Nice to meet you. I literally
Nice to
just said hi to her like 4 seconds before the show started. It was perfect timing. I love it. I love it. So the internet tells me you were born a couple years ago in Encino, California. Is that part correct?
Yes. No, I was born actually in Hollywood, apropos at Hollywood Presbyterian, and from there to Studio City, and then to Encino for most of my childhood. And yes, yeah, Encino.
Okay. Now I looked up Encino because I kind of familiar with California, but I'm from Ohio, so like California is like Beverly Hills is good, Hollywood's bad, and then the rest is just a bunch of random beach
It's
towns.
just flat. It's just flat with randos. Yes, exactly.
But I looked up this Encino, and it says it's right smack by San Fernando Valley. Is that right?
It's kind of in the heart of the San Fernando Valley. It's where the original Valley Girls came from, and I sort of skated through that, the Valley Girl itis, as it were. But it's in the San Fernando Valley, so I'm about.
That's great. That was actually my next question. The typical, for those not familiar with the area, like if you ever heard the Valley Girl accent, like, oh my God, that
Oh
was
my
where.
God, it's like totally. I don't even know if I can do it. I so shied away from it. I so didn't want to be that because it was just, I found ridiculous and almost demeaning. But it was very 80s. It was very sort of, of an era, but I refused to speak like that.
Now, was that like when you were coming up? Did your friends talk like that? Was that just a common thing in the area, or was that just kind of a stereotype of
It,
whatever?
it was a stereotype. I knew girls that did that. My brother dated a Valley girl, and she herself was delightful, but it was kind of horrifying. Oh my God. So I sort of shied away. But yeah, I was smack in the middle of it. In the middle of it.
That's
But
awesome.
I had at that point, I'd studied in London, and I was, enunciating properly and pronouncing things properly. And so I didn't want to, I heard it and I could do it, much better sort of actually around that time. Uh, but yeah, I had already been to drama school. So I didn't want to let anything taint that.
Now, were you born into show business pretty much?
I was, absolutely. I have an aunt, my mother's older sister, who was a very famous actress named Barbara Rush, and she was never really an A-lister. She was sort of an A minus or B plus lister, but she acted with all the greats. I mean, Brando, Sinatra, Paul Newman, Dean Martin, Rock Hudson, you name it. And she was there. And then when she started, when she was no longer acting in feature films, she started doing a lot of, Barnaby Jones and Mannix and Cannon and, Medical Center, that kind of thing. So, and then she starred on Flamingo Road,
Okay.
which was kind of a spinoff of, Dynasty and all these other Dallas and all these other things. So Barbara Rush, and that was the in front of the camera. But I really got all of my showbiz lessons, life lessons, how you behave on a set lessons, don't be a freaking diva lessons from my father.
Okay. I was
And
just gonna. That was my next question. Now it says your father was a production designer and art director and won an Academy Award for the 1966 movie Fantastic Voyage. Now, have you ever seen this movie?
I have seen it many times.
Okay.
Yes, in fact, my first set experience was walking onto the set at 20th Century Fox of Fantastic Voyage.
Oh, nice. I was gonna say how old was you were about what 7, 8, 9 years old when you first saw that?
No, I was 4.
4. You're just a baby.
I was 4
Okay.
years old. Yes, and everyone, yeah, figure it out, guys. Figure it out. Um, I was 4 years old when I walked onto my first soundstage, and so it was Fantastic Voyage. And Dad was nominated twice again for Logan's Run and Annie. Dad was a great sort of sci-fi icon in terms of production design. So, and as I say, I'm the only person that I know personally who's rehearsed her Academy Award speech holding one.
No, that Logan's Run, man. That's a movie I haven't heard of so long. You know, I only watched like a little bit of it because the only part I remember, because a little bit, it was like that movie came out like what 83, 84, something like that. I was kind of young when it came out, but I remember in Friends, when they were on the couch and it was like he popped on. I remember when Ross was dating Denise, or his cousin was Denise Richards. They were on the couch, and Denise Richards put on Logan's Run, and she thought he was hitting on him.
Right, exactly.
No,
Dad. My dad did some seminal films. He did he did designed two of Woody Allen's films, Sleeper and Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Sex. He designed Young Frankenstein. He designed Dirty Harry. He designed King Kong with the one with Jessica Lange and Jeff Bridges. So Dad, he passed away in 81. So who knows what he would have done, you know, if had he lived. But when he passed away, he was easily regarded as one of the top 5 production designers in Hollywood.
Oh, nice.
Very, very sought after. But also very smart, very wise, very no nonsense, and very revered by the people that he worked with. So I like to think I'm following in his footsteps and making him proud. So that's my show business. So I was a studio brat. I would go and visit my father, tried to, as much as possible, whenever possible. He also was on location a lot. So, but when he was ensconced in a studio, I tried to be there as much as possible.
Now, when was the last time you saw that movie, The Fantastic Voyage?
Fantastic Voyage? Oh, I just saw it actually about 6 months ago.
Oh,
about
nice,
6 months ago. And what's interesting is that Logan's Run doesn't necessarily hold up. It's great for what it is, but we've come so far. CGI, we've come so far in imagining the world of the future. Fantastic Voyage holds up. It still holds up. There is nothing like it.
No.
I defy anyone to do what my father did. You can do all the CGI you want, but there's nothing like Fantastic Voyage.
CGI just kind of, I don't know, man. Lately, a lot of the movies are just, it seems to be so much CGI, and the old school acting is kind of on the wayside. They just put a mask in there and have a fireball come in, the guy falls over and the scene's over. It's ridiculous.
I know. But with what my dad constructed, you had to be at the top of your game acting wise. You just had to match. You had to match those sets. And Stephen Boyd and Raquel Welch. I mean, all of them. They did it. Arthur Miller. No, not Arthur Miller. Arthur C. Miller. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, everyone in that cast had to match what they were given visually, and they were actually given it visually. They didn't have to act on a green screen. So, you know, when they were in the brain, they were in the brain.
Now, what do you think of the Coolio song of the same name, Fantastic Voyage?
I do not know this song.
I've heard Fantastic, come on, round and ride on a fantastic voyage. You heard
it? It's from you. It sounds great, but I do not know this song.
Well, I can jettison my next question. Have you ever met Coolio?
I have not.
Now, I read that you have 2 siblings. So you got younger and older, brother and sister. What we got?
I've got an older half brother from my father's first marriage, and I've got a named Scott, who was an Imagineer at Disney, and I've got a younger full brother named Michael.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 14 months younger than I, and he's wonderful. He's fabulous. His whole family's fabulous.
Now, what does anyone still have that Academy Award, the physical award?
My mother recently passed, so my brother has it, and he's shining it up. He's like, I think, redipping it, because apparently the Oscar has suffered since 1966. So he's redipping it, and then he and I are going to share it. He'll get it 12 months out of the year, and then I'll get it, and we're driving it back and forth so that we can, we each have our father for a little bit, every other year.
Do you ever just sit there and just look at it like, this is sweet, man. I like this. This is cool.
Oh yeah. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
That's gotta be like having a Super Bowl trophy or like you know what I mean? Just oh,
Well,
that Super Bowl trophy right there. Look at that.
yeah, they're rare. And they, certainly they were back then, and I still think so today, but certainly back then they were given out for what was the best that year, the best that year. And I've got a clip of my father accepting his award, interestingly enough, from Rock Hudson,
Oh, nice.
and giving his speech. And it's so cool to see my dad at that age, 1966, however old he was in his 30s, for heaven's sakes, and accepting it. And he was just, it takes you back, because again, I was 4 years old watching it, and I have the memory of walking on the set, but I don't have the memory of watching him on television, accepting it. So it's great to relive that. And I need to thank my nephew who found that clip.
That's cool, man. Yeah, those lost clips. Right? That's the beauty of YouTube, is that people are restoring a lot of the old stuff and bringing it back. And
you can find everything.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Now, what was your first foray into the show business? Like, besides like school plays and all that, was there like an official role you did, like you were 10 or something?
No, I think I was 19, and it was one of two things. I think they happened very, very close together, so I can't remember which came first. But it was a Bonnie Franklin movie of the week called Your Place or Mine. I think it might have been renamed The Mating Call. It was ghastly, and she was ghastly. Sorry, she was. And I was Woman Who Told Her the Time. A woman who told Bonnie Franklin. that was the first one. Or it was on General Hospital as the photographer's assistant named Dora, and I had a one-way conversation with Luke Spencer. So it was one of those two things. And nice. And I was 19 at the time.
Now, did you want to be an actress when you were coming up? Did you just kind of say, this is what I'm going to do no matter what, because I like it?
The moment I walked onto that soundstage.
Oh, nice.
At 20th Century Fox, the moment I walked on to the set of Fantastic Voyage, I said, I don't know. I was 4, but I remember it very clearly. I said, I don't know what happens in this room. It's huge. It's dark. There's a hub of activity somewhere deep in the recesses of this room, and lights are shining, and then a buzzer will sound, and everything stops for a moment, and I can hear voices kind of like far away, because we all had to freeze. And then 2 buzzers will sound and you could move again. And I wanted to know what happened in that moment, in that span of time. So I said, I'm going to do this. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to live in this room. I'm going to live in this big, dark room. So, and I'm very lucky that I happen to have an affinity. I happen to have a bit of a talent to do what's required to get you into that room.
Nice. We got a question from Hobo Nickel Barbecue Testing Laboratory. He says, how cool is Betty White? First off, have you ever met Betty White?
Yes. Yes, I have met Betty White. She and I are both ambassadors for the Los Angeles Zoo. She's much more well-known than I am in that circle. And Betty White's very cool. Betty White's incredibly cool. She loves animals.
She could be 100 next month. That's
She's
crazy.
She's going to be 100 next month. Betty White loves animals, and therefore she is one of the coolest people on the planet.
Well, I mean, you can't. She's kind of. Well, let's be real. She's kind of like if we had a queen. I mean, she's the only person from the World War II era all throughout time who's been relevant the whole time. She's kind of like our informal queen a little bit.
Yeah. I think oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I don't know if Cloris Leachman is still alive. And if Cloris is still alive, then we have Cloris too. And if she passed, I think she just passed recently. Anyway, Cloris and Betty, obviously both from the Mary Tyler Moore Show, but both fantastic broads in the best sense of the words. Great names.
Now, where did go? Keep going. I'm sorry.
No, that's it. I mean, but I've met Betty a couple of times at the zoo for what they call the Beastly Ball, which is the big fundraiser. Okay. And she's, she's just a game gal. So
that's awesome. Now, where did you go to high school, and did you go to college?
I went to Taft High School in the San Fernando Valley. I got a scholarship to California State University at Northridge. and did that. And then I went to before that I went to American Conservatory Theater, and then I went to the who's calling me from the pop? Hang on, sorry, I should have. I've got to turn this off. Sorry, I know, it's just awful. Stop, go away, go away. Now we're going to turn our phone off. I should have done that earlier. Just such a Luddite. And then I went to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London. So I studied there. I did some graduate work there.
Okay. Now, what did you do post college before like your first kind of known roles? Were you just kind of messing around with like little stuff? Or?
I mean, I pounded the pavement. I came home and I joined every theater company I could. I did every play that I could. The small little theaters, the equity waiver stuff where you have no dressing rooms and everyone has to change in the alley. I've done that. I did student films. I did short films. I did small. I mean, just building the resume. I really pounded the pavement. No one paved the way for me because at that point my father had passed away. I have no idea what my career might have been like had he lived. But again, he was not he was above the line, but he was in a different kind of milieu than I was. So no one handed me anything. I worked for everything that I got, and I worked very, very hard. Again, I stuff for free, just you name it, and I've done it. Studying. I went to the Groundlings. I was at Acme Comedy Theater for many years. And then in my 30s, kind of in my early mid 30s, I started making a living at it, where I didn't have to, do temp work anymore. So that was fun. And so now I just I've made my living as an actor for decades. So
yeah, I'm not gonna ask you about all the minor roles, but I looked up some of your stuff, and it's pretty sweet minor stuff. A lot of people not may memorize some of these shows. You were on Grace Under Fire, Wings, Party of Five. That's a classic right there. Party of Five. That 70s Show, Moesha, Dawson's Creek, Dawson's Creek, which I've never seen actually. I remember I think there was a theme song I remember, but I've never seen that show. Reba. And it's pretty impressive. And then was there a point when you were on TV and you wanted to go to movies, or just kind of were you doing both at the same time, or just whatever was happening?
Oh, I was usually doing both at the same time, but there was a period of time where I was on I'd gotten General Hospital, and I think the next year I got Jessie and True Blood and Cougar Town, and actually Jessie, Cougar Town, and then something and General Hospital. I was doing the three of them together, and then True Blood bought me for a year. They contracted me for a year, and I couldn't do anything else. There was one year where Diane Miller was just not on General Hospital. I actually had to ask production if I could do a small little voiceover. I mean, they had me, and and they paid for it. So that's great. So once True Blood, and once my head exploded on True Blood, I was able to go back to, Jessie and Cougar Town and then things start, then Revenge and all these other kinds of things started happening, which was wonderful. And then the films started popping up. So.
All right, we got a quick question from Moose Kells Corner. She says, "Who is your favorite person to work with on General Hospital?"
It is a toss-up. It's a serious toss-up between Maurice Benard, Laura Wright, and Steve Burton. And I also have to put in Bradford Anderson in there. I have to put in Bradford Anderson because his character was so wonderful. He was such a nemesis to me in a way, because Damien Spinelli, played by Bradford Anderson, would drive Diane Miller nuts. She just did not know how to handle this. So that was always wonderful. But there's Steve Burton he's such a pal. He's a pal, and I will miss him. He's no longer on the show for other reasons, but I will miss him. But I love Maurice Benard. And Laura Wright can do things she can memorize, is where it's letter perfect, comma perfect. And that's a skill that I don't have. I'm kind of like, okay, if I forget, I'm just gonna hopefully give you your cue line. But I managed to kind of make it my own. But Laura Wright's wonderful, and Nancy Lee Grant's wonderful too. And the relationship that has been built with between Alexis and Diane. So those are the people. But if it was a favorite, I've got to pick two. It's got to be Maurice and Steve.
Now we got a question from Tim Loss. He says, "Did you ever try stand-up comedy?"
It's the one animal that I haven't ridden. It's the one thing I haven't tackled, and I think I'd be great at it, but I'm scared shitless. I am. Pardon me while I have it. I have to have some.
Oh, no problem at all. Yeah, that's what I was before I started all this YouTube stuff and interviewing. When I stand up by trade, but then it's just like, man, I got sick of driving in the middle of nowhere to talk in front of 7 people who are looking at the phone, looking at their phones, not paying attention to me when I'm spend a week trying to memorize quality jokes. And I just realized I could just vamp for 20 minutes anyways and just talk.
And I might do that. I might just like get up on stage and go, so this is what happened. This is what happened, because I'm a very good storyteller and people laugh. So I thought, well, maybe I'll try it. I dated a comic. Yeah. So my first year of sobriety, 21 years now, and I dated a comic. And that's, they say you should never start a relationship in your first year of sobriety. And he was an angry asshole comic. So that kind of put me off a little bit. It's like, really? Do you have to be mean? Do you have to be angry and abusive to be funny? And he also wasn't funny. So there was that. So I thought, well, I might have to rethink. That sort of put me off. But now I'm kind of rethinking it.
Yeah,
I might. You never know. You never know.
We got a question from Mick. It says, "Have you ever worked with a Brit or well?" She said she was trained in London. How much time have you spent over in the UK and London and all
that? A little less than 2 years.
Okay.
So yeah. I mean, a little less than 2 years. Have I ever worked with a British person?
Yeah, they go Mick's from Yorkshire in the UK, so he's just general UK question.
I have worked with Brits. I have worked in London. I did a commercial in London. I have not done any stage in London. Have I done have I filmed anything else in London? I don't think so. But I love London. Oh my gosh. Well, I love Great Britain. Period.
Oh, yeah.
It's so incredibly gorgeous. It's so incredibly gorgeous. And the most, I think, stately homes, large mansions. I mean, anywhere. And it's a small island, and they've got these huge freaking homes with acres of property, and it's like, well, I'd love one of those.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't mind a nice £1 million British house with a couple acres in the countryside and all that stuff. I mean,
Downton Abbey, yes please. Yes please. Blenheim, which was Churchill's home. It's like, yes please. Just every time I'm watching any sort of British drama, and they and I think, well, there's another one, and you just, because again, it's a small island, but boy, they've got these homes. Okay, anyway,
now let's go into Terminator 3. Now it says you were credited as Rich Woman.
Yes. Again, that was many years ago. I'm the first human killed in Terminator 3. Nice. The Terminatrix. The female Terminatrix, played by Kristana Loken, she appears in this, storefront window and is naked as the day she was born. And I have just come from, pulling money out of the ATM, and I get back in my fabulous Jaguar, and she walks across the street and snaps my neck and steals my clothing, my hairstyle, and my car. And Kristana Loken I was called to do, it's the first scene, one of the first scenes in the film, but it was shot on the last day of filming. So obviously Kristana Loken had been established. And so she's got slicked back hair and this big kind of bun on the back of her head. I mean, right? And so I walk into hair and makeup with this hair, and they look at me and they just go, what the fuck? What are you, how, how, how are we supposed to get this with a, so I was about an hour in the hair chair, and they slicked back my hair with everything they had, and then stuck this, they found this piece that looked at kind of same coloring, and stuck it on my head with possibly 5,000 bobby pins. But they were pissed. I was like, ladies, I'm so sorry. I really can't do more than just this. This is it. I mean, if you didn't know what you were working with, that ain't my fault. Anyway, so I didn't have the Kristana looking hairstyle when I walked in, but boy, they gave it to me. Yeah, and so I watched her walk. I watched this beautiful naked girl walk across the street on Rodeo Drive for about 3 hours.
Nice.
Yeah, it was lovely. It was nice.
Now,
She's
now,
very,
were,
very sweet.
now, were you typecast in these kind of rich, debutante roles by choice? Did you like that kind of role? Did it kind of just work out that way, like the Cruella de Vil type?
Oh yeah. Well, there's a great line. The snake gets the best lines and the best shoes. And you can usually parlay your humor with a villain the way you can't if wearing a Laura Ashley gown and you're very sort of on a fainting couch somewhere. So it works for humor. And it's just so much fun to play evil. It's so much fun to play evil because you get to access that part of you that if you were to play that, if you were to sort of take that into real life, some people do, but then you're institutionalized or you're incarcerated. So it's fun to do it, get paid for it, and then leave it. Come home and hug your dogs. And it's fun to see what you can get away with as a really snarky, arch evil, character, because they're also the most damaged, and that's fun to play too. It's like, how did you get this way?
Oh, yeah.
That's fun. That's interesting. Let's see if we can dive into that, show that. So,
All right, now this Terminator 3 was, I'm just guessing here, but I think it's the last movie he did before he became the governor of California. Is that right at all?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. Now, did he constantly talk about this when he was on the T? He's like, vote for me right now. Was he like,
I never met him. I never met the man.
no shit. Okay.
No. Because I mean, he's not in those scenes that I did with Christina Loken.
Okay, that makes sense.
Kristana Loken. Anyway, with the Terminatrix, he wasn't there. So I don't even know if he was on set. No, I have, to this day, I have not met him.
Oh, wow.
I'd like to, because
I wouldn't mind either.
he was the
He
Terminator.
comes up to, we're from Cleveland. I'm from Cleveland, and he comes up to the Cleveland Clinic every now and then for, I don't know what he was up there for. Some guy's surgery, I think, a couple months ago. He was up there.
Oh, did he?
My buddy's like, go up to the clinic. I was like, I'm not going to go stalk a hospital, bro. It's not happening. Now, would you ever run for governor yourself?
Why not? I think I could do a fabulous job.
Yeah. Well, that leads us up to our next question. Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and Blonde. You're listed as Congresswoman with haircut.
Yes, I know. I have all of these. Those were the days where I didn't really have names to my characters, but I played the Congresswoman from Florida, I think. And I have this, I get this bizarre haircut, done by Jennifer Coolidge, who again, I was at the Groundlings slightly before I was there, and she's lovely. So we reminisced about that. But yeah, that was filmed in Springfield, Illinois. Possibly the coldest place on the planet, as far as I'm concerned. It was cold, wind, ice, rain, the whole thing, and I still have sinus issues. Thank you to Springfield. But I also thought about it. It's like, well, Lincoln came from Springfield, and obviously, I mean, it's like I just want to go. Really, Abraham Lincoln? Why'd you settle there? Because it's cold. Just move south. What? So, it's like, why does anybody live there? Because it's so cold. It's
I think
freezing.
Megan was born in Kentucky, and they probably moved to Illinois to get
What's
jobs
the
maybe
point?
or something.
Really? I mean, it's like moving to Norway.
If you think Springfield, Illinois is cold, don't visit Detroit, don't visit Chicago, really don't visit Cleveland, and really don't visit Buffalo and Syracuse because
No,
those
no, no.
places
No,
are
no,
freezing.
thank you. I will not. I will not. Chicago's got the wind, and that's something yet again. So I listen, I applaud everybody who lives there. You're made of sterner stuff than I am. Seriously.
Well, the further north you get, the cheaper the housing is. So that's why so we do it. You deal
That's
with a little bit of snow, man, your price of your house drops by like
it
70%.
goes
It's
way
great.
down. Well, I have relatives, or I had relatives in Wisconsin, and my mother's Norwegian ancestors, and wanted to say, you left Norway because it was cold, and now you settle in Wisconsin when you could have gone 1,000 miles south. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, Wisconsin's cold.
Yeah.
Minnesota's even colder, man. We were up in
Yeah.
Minnesota in like November and it was negative something. I don't know how they do it, man.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I'd just be crying all the time, and my tears
Now,
would freeze on my face.
now don't they listed you as congresswoman with haircut, but not to nitpick, but don't all congresswomen have haircuts? I mean, it seems kind of a weird.
Well, it should have been Congresswoman with bad haircut. That's what it should have been, because not all of them had bad haircuts. But at the very end of the film, I've got this ghastly haircut of Jennifer Coolidge. So it should
Now,
have been bad.
did that movie start out with you and a bunch of chihuahuas? The
No, I don't think no, I don't think so. Not me. No,
uh,
I was always in the halls of the Senate, in the halls of Congress.
all right, now do you have any chihuahuas or non-chihuahua dogs in real life?
I do. I've got 4 dogs, and 2 are Chiweenies.
Oh, the chihuahua and I know what's the other
Not
one?
the
Oh, the wiener dog, the dachshund. Okay,
Chihuahua Dachshund mix. Yes, exactly.
okay,
Exactly. In fact, are any of them here? Hang on.
all right, totally.
Come here. Oh no. Oh no. Sorry. This is not one of them. This is Arbuckle.
Hey, Arbuckle, what's up, buddy? Oh, your little
I
face.
know. I know. The
He's
face.
a cutie.
He's half Yorkshire Terrier, half Cairn Terrier.
Oh,
So he's like a kind of like a little Toto. He's like a part Toto. But this is one of my little love muffins. He's the cutest of the bunch.
little
So,
guy. That's mama's love bug. That's mama's. You sleep with that puppy, don't you?
are you kidding? All 4 of them, and the cat,
All right,
on the bed.
now the dog on Jessie. We get a lot of Jessie because a lot of this was because my son watched Jessie for like 9 weeks straight, so I've seen all like 13-year episodes a billion times. But was that dog? Was there like a lot of when you have to work with a dog like that? Was there a lot of ASPCA stuff on that? I mean, is that like a really big process to work with animals? What's up with that?
It was American Humane.
Okay.
Humane. It was because American Humane, and again, I'm an ambassador for American Humane, and they have the no dogs were harmed. That's their program, and I believe Jessie was under the auspices of American Humane, and I was, it's like you have an animal on set. Carolyn is on the case. Like, how are you treating that animal? Are you using positive reinforcement training? Mm-hmm. Do I need to make a phone call? But Brody, who was the dog who played Zeus, was beautifully taken care of. I mean, just gorgeous dog. Lovely, 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 lovely little animal.
Now, whose dog was that on the show?
The trainer. I don't know the trainer's name.
Oh, so they like contracted out to a company.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, was it the same thing with the Mrs. Kipling, the whatever the heck it was, Komodo dragon was on the
Water
show?
monitor.
Yeah.
Water monitor. I don't know if it was the same animal person. I don't think so, because that was an exotic, and I think Brody's handler was just dogs. But yeah, the water monitor was contracted out.
Okay.
And they had 4 of them. So they had the water monitor. They had a stuffed exact replica, like they'd taken a picture of it and then fed it through a computer. And so they had that was that. And then they had a like a dinosaur kind of, like a fake stuffed animal. And then they had pieces of it. They had like the arm and the tongue and the leg, and they had so you could, and they were all like it was puppetry, so you could
Okay.
get a close up of the tongue licking the pie off of Mrs. Chesterfield's face.
My son asked me to ask this question: were the baby lizards that came out of Mrs. Kipling real, or were those fake?
I think they were all fake. I
Okay.
think. I could be wrong.
All right. Now, is it true you can actually work the trapeze?
Oh yes. Oh, I fly trapeze.
Okay.
I fly trapeze and I hang trapeze. Those are two different disciplines.
Nice.
The flying trapeze everyone knows from like Ringling Brothers.
Right.
You leave, and the hanging trapeze is a different discipline. You see a lot of it in Cirque du Soleil. It's the aerialist never leaves the bar. So there's just a lot of bending and moving and contorting and fun stuff like that. So yeah, and I have one at the end of my driveway. So that's why.
Nice.
Thank you, COVID, for keeping me at home and giving me some exercise, and making me exercise on my trapeze bar.
Now, did you ever tour with the circus or anything like that?
No,
or how do you pick
no,
up? How do you learn how to trapeze? Like, how do you pick someone like that?
I did it at university for a production of Comedy of Errors, the static trapeze, and I had to build my own trapeze, and so I was spouting Shakespeare, hanging by my ankles, and from there it was just a very brief leap to the flying trapeze, and I still do that. And then I had this rig installed at the end of my driveway. So so that's how I came to it. It was Comedy of Errors, and the director wanted a circus theme. So the two lead females were on trapezes.
Nice.
Spouting Shakespeare. Why not?
That was the whole storyline in Jessie of a Central Park billionaire debutante being madly in love. No, God bless Kevin Chamberlain. He's a nice guy.
I love him.
Being madly in love with a butler. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. No, like you could get anybody you want. I mean, not anybody you want, but I mean, come on, a butler.
Rhoda Chesterfield could not get anybody, because if you have watched Jessie, Rhoda Chesterfield should be locked on put on an island somewhere. She's just so antisocial, and she's just so rude, and she's brusque, and she's this, and she's and again, tremendous fun to play. So she just decided that, and she couldn't even get Bertrand. She couldn't even get him. Rhoda's got Zeus. That's all. Rhoda has her Chihuahua. That's it. But it's also Disney. Anything can happen in a Disney show.
Disney's crazy with the way I mean, I see different, like, as my kids have gotten older, and they have a lot of like sometimes the kids will be like, the parents are always idiots in every Disney show. Every Disney show, these parents are idiots.
Of course.
And I think what happens subconsciously is a lot of these kids, they walk around like, oh, my dad's an idiot. I can easily fool him. It's like, dude, we've been on the block before. We know what we're doing. This is my first rodeo. You know what I mean? So that's always great. Now, since your name was Mrs. Chesterfield on Jessie, have you ever smoked a Chesterfield cigarette?
I've never smoked a Chesterfield. No, I have never smoked. I've actually even very rarely, maybe once, had to do it for a role. Not even very, no, I think I've done it like once or twice, but it's very rare, very rare. So I think I tried inhaling once, and I naturally coughed up a lung.
Well, don't start now.
No.
Now you're gonna cut 10 years off your life there.
No. With my addictive personality, I would be like, just chain smoking. So no, I can't do it. I have to stay away from things like smoking and gambling and booze.
Now, do you know if the character's first name was based off of Rhoda from the Mary Tyler Moore Show or not?
Mary Tyler Moore Show? I don't know. That's because Pam Els, who created Jessie, is a very, very dear friend of mine. And I'll ask her. I don't know. Okay. But that's a great question, because Rhoda is such a throwback name,
Right.
And it's kind of rare. But Mrs. Rhoda Chesterfield, and she loved it. Pam, the favorite thing in the world that I would do is when I'd say Point Rhoda, Point Rhoda. She still does that to me today. So we do that to each other. But she just loved the way that sounded. So yeah, Rhoda's a great name. But Rhoda, Valerie Harper, God bless her.
Now, have you ever met Valerie Harper?
I have met Valerie Harper.
Oh, nice,
I met
nice.
her at a publicity event for something. I can't remember what it was. She's lovely. She's very sweet, very sweet.
Okay, now let's get into some General Hospital. Now, I got a full disclosure. I've not seen too many episodes of General Hospital. I mean, it's under one of
What?
my cells.
I'm leaving.
Now it says you have done 521 episodes. That was when I did this research. Is that how many episodes you did, or do you keep track of something like that?
I don't. I know it's over 500. And God bless those who've counted. Yeah, and there was sort of sort of kind of a big thing that was made when I did, because it was supposed to be 2 days of work. See, that's the thing. If you're contracted, then nobody kind of keeps count, because they assume you're going to be on the show as a series regular. I'm a heavy duty recur, and the fans love Diane, and God bless those fans. But it was supposed to be 2 days. That's it.
You're only supposed to do that for 2 days, and then
I was
here you
only
are,
supposed to
500
do it.
episodes
Yeah,
later.
Mark Teschner had seen me in a play and had become a friend and was kind of following my career. And he called me up and he said, "Listen, just for grins, I've got 2 days of work for you on General Hospital. You're going to be Sonny's lawyer." And I said, "That's great. Who's Sonny?" And he fell on the floor. He's like, "You don't know who Sonny Corinthos is? He's the biggest character in daytime at that time. And he's the biggest actor in daytime." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, fine." That, Maurice Bernard. And so he said, "Yeah, you're just going to come on. You're going to be the lawyer." And I went, "Great." So I was on for 2 days, and they saw something between Bradford Anderson as Damian Spinelli when he goes to hug Diane, in the Port Charles Police Department, like on my second day there or my first day there. And the way I just kind of stiffened up, it's like, what is this creature that's hugging me? They went, "Well, that's a very interesting relationship. We should explore that." And then they saw me with the big cheese, with Maurice, and how he and I interacted. So they said, "We need to keep bringing her back, bringing her back, bringing her back." And that's how it turned into 2 days, 520 episodes, 14 years later, almost 15 years later.
Now, is this General Hospital role, is this your most recognized role, if people see you out in public or something like that?
It's either that or Mrs. Chesterfield. If they're under, 4 feet tall, it's Jessie. If they are, if they're over 4 feet tall, it's usually General Hospital, because it's seen by so many people, because we're in their home 5 days a week for an hour a day. We are reliable. We're trustworthy. We are there. We're family. So Diane gets a lot of recognition. Also True Blood, also Cougar Town. Those things are the long running, the longer running things are the things that I get. But yeah, it's usually General Hospital.
I know these, from what I've gathered, these soaps, they got a pretty brutal filming schedule. Now, you kind of touched on this a little bit, but are you contracted to be close to the studio? Do they notify you when they need you? Like, how does the schedule for something like
I've
that
never been under contract, because I couldn't do everything else that I get to go and do. If I were, it would be very, very difficult.
Okay.
So they call me when they need me. And I mean, 95% of the time I'm Johnny on the spot. I'm right there. But sometimes I have to say, "No, I'm filming something else." "Sorry." "Oh, someone else wants me too."
Nice.
Usually I'm there for General Hospital, because, I know what side I'm buttered on. They've been very good to me.
Now, were there any clothes in the 15 years of the show that they gave you and you're like, "No, I'm not gonna wear this"? You just wear whatever they give you, and you don't even think about it?
There was wait a second. There was one time where they wanted me to wear a suit, and I said, "No. She's going over. She's having a friendly chat. She's not coming from work. She's this." And I said, so I asked to wear a pair of pants and some boots. And that's the only time. But more often than not, I take what I'm given, because it's so gorgeous. Sean Reeves, who's the costumer on General Hospital, I flatter myself, I think I'm one of his muses, only because I love the clothes so much. And I and even though Diane's in a lot of suits, they're great suits. They're terrific suits. And when she's not, he just puts her in these splashes of color and these wonderful, wonderful garments, these wonderful clothes. So I take what I'm given, and sometimes I take it home.
No, nice. We got a question from Tommy Carroll. He writes, who was the worst director you've ever worked with?
Worst director I've ever worked with. First of all, please, I'm going to name that name. Come on, stop it. But it was for a play.
Okay.
It was for a play called Equinox, and that's all I'm going to say. If you can find it, if you can look it up, that's it. It's for a play called Equinox. And he looked at me one day and he said, "Darling, there's only one diva on this play, and it's me." And I went, "Good. I'm glad you think so."
All right, we got a question from Cyrus. He says, "So I got to ask, as an actress with a crazy amount of award-winning filmography, my question is, how are you still so hot?"
I have a painting in the attic that's going to hell. It's just going to hell. That's it. You're very kind. Whoever that was, I love you. Thank you so much. Well, clean living. No. I stay out of the sun. I drink a lot of water. I trapeze, and I endeavor to be freaking happy. Pretty much all day, every day. I don't succeed a lot, but that's what I try to do. And I think it's all attitude. I'm also blessed with, great genes. A lot of this is not me. It's the Norwegian blood, so thank you. Thank you for thinking that I am hot. You have made my life.
All right, now Moose Gal, she's a big fan of this. Christina lives in Illinois. She writes, now that Steve Burton is off, what's going to happen to the Jason Morgan character? Do you have any idea?
I don't know. I do not think they will recast, because that would be silly. Steve Burton is Jason Morgan. He will always be Jason Morgan.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't there when he left. I mean, I wasn't filming that day when he left, so I don't know, honestly, how I don't know if he died. I don't know if he walked away into the sunset. I don't know. I'll find out, but I don't know. But there will always be. Listen, I'm still hoping that things will settle down. That everything will settle down, that opinions and attitudes and viruses and mandates and things like that will settle, and that he will come back. And that's my hope. That's my great, great hope. So maybe we haven't seen the last of Jason Morgan. I live in hope.
All right. Now, was it a bit of a big deal for you to win a daytime Emmy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, where is the award, and how often do you look at
it? The award is in. I've got a two-bedroom home here, and I only need one, but the clothes need a lot of space. So that I've turned the other one into kind of, I call it the boutique, because it's got the jewelry, the accessories, the shoes, and the handbags. And I put the Emmy with everything else that I've been lucky enough and fortunate enough to win. That's all in there. So it's not on the mantelpiece. It's not in the bathroom where everyone can see it. And it's not in the kitchen. It's in there with other things.
Now, I was curious. This is some information for the audience, my fans out there. It says, I looked up what the word Emmy was named after. This is quite complex, so bear with me. It is a variation of the word Immy, I-M-M-Y, which somehow was slang for orthicon tube, which was America's answer to the CPS Emitron, which was a less noisy iconoscope. Now, for more about 1930s cameras technology, please go to Wikipedia, because that's all I know. I can't answer any questions about the iconoscope, the Emitron, or the orthicon tube, okay? So basically, an Emmy means a camera from the 30s is what I gather.
Okay. I'll take your word for that. I think That's maybe the best thing I've heard in ages. I would not have known that.
That took me so long. I had to look up each one of
Mm.
these words, and it led me down a rabbit hole of
I
archaic
know that.
cameras that I just right over
Oh
my head.
my gosh, I know that Oscar, somebody said it looks like my Uncle Oscar somewhere along the line, I think. That's how that went. I mean, that's so, because it's usually the Academy Award, but and the Tony is the for Antoinette Perry, the Antoinette Perry Award. So that Antoinette Tony. And Grammy is for gramophone. But I would never have thought that that was the explanation. Oh my gosh. Now I'm gonna go look at my Emmy and just go, "Did you know you're named after a camera? Me?"
He's gonna start talking to you. Now I was researching this, and I have to ask you about the Cougar Town. I know you kind of. I secretly think you really like that role because when I was watching previous interviews, you memorized the lines just like that. Now, was
Oh,
it a fun role to do with all that awesome dialogue?
the most fun. The most fun. I mean, people say, "What's your favorite role?" It's like, well, I can't because every role is kind of my favorite, because I make them my favorite at the time. But Barb, they wrote comedy gold for Barb, and was usually sometimes 1, 2 sentences, run in, deploy a little atom bomb, a little comedy atom bomb, scurry away, and watch the destruction. And you couldn't get better than that. You couldn't get better than that. It was one day, and one of the most, one day per episode, sometimes two, but and it's one of the most memorable characters on the show because of what they gave me.
Oh, the lines are
I
so good.
mean, and it was heaven. It was
I,
heaven.
I can't get over that. It's time to restore this Ferrari line. Every time I hear that, I
Now
just
let's
bust up laughing.
now let's detail this Ferrari.
Detail this Ferrari.
Yeah.
The best.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, go back and just type in Carolyn's name and Cougar Town. They use like a top 10 list, and it's just you're gonna die laughing. It's just so fun.
Someone made a compilation of every single Barb scene. And it was so beautifully done that I found out who this person was, and I emailed them and I said, "May I use that as my comedy reel, please?" And they said yes. And so I used that as my comedy reel for like 2 years. There was nothing better. And because it ran the gamut.
Now, do you ever get called a cougar just randomly because of all the roles you've had?
No, no,
No,
no. And I also don't date men younger than me.
that's a
I
good way
mean,
to do it.
I mean, I think I have maybe once. Didn't go well. So no. So I don't have a young, cub. So I'm not really labeled as a cougar.
Cub.
I
I'm
think
Karen.
that's what
Here's
they're
my cub.
called. I think that's what they're called. I don't have one, but maybe, if someone's out there. Who called me hot? Are you younger than I am?
Cyrus, how old are you, Cyrus? Drop it in the chat. How old are you? I think he's in England though, so it might be
Oh, Cyrus. Cyrus, don't be geographically undesirable. Come on.
All right, now tell me about your children's books and the charitable work.
Yeah, yeah. The Pandora series. It started out as a short story that I was writing in a writing workshop. And a visiting author, this was many years ago, 2004, and a visiting author said, he heard me read it and say, no, 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 this is a wonderful idea. It doesn't need to be, you're 49. I'm sorry, sweetheart. Too young. Okay. That doesn't need to be a short story. It can be this. And I went, okay, I will do that. I did not know the daunting process of writing 7 books at the time. So I started writing the first book, and the first book kind of came to me in about 6 weeks. And I thought, oh, this is easy. I can do this. Well, I can do 7 more. Well, wrong. I mean, it was much more arduous than that. But it's based on the classic Greek myth of Pandora and the box of evil that the gods give her, and they give her curiosity, and they say, hey, you're this fabulous woman. We're going to put you down on Earth, and we're going to give you a box. Never open it. Okay. naturally, all hell breaks loose because she opens the box. But in my story, Pandora is a 13-year-old girl, and her father is Prometheus, who stole fire from Zeus and gave it to mankind and was tortured for, eons and eons. And so this is somewhat after that. And Prometheus has been released from his torment, and he's married, and he's got this 13-year-old girl who, by virtue of the fact that her father's Prometheus, is a demigod. But it's this wonderful ancient Greek world with all these modern overlays. And she goes to the Athena Maiden Middle School, and she and her friends are kind of regarded as, plebes and dweebs, and they're not very popular. And there's a big project due, and she finds the box that's got all the evil in the world in it, and wouldn't that be cool to take to school? And she does, and all hell breaks loose again. And so 7 big evils get out, along with assorted lesser evils, and she is hauled up to Mount Olympus, and Zeus says to her, the actual Zeus, not the dog, but the king of the gods, says, okay, here's your, really? You took it to school? Really? Here's your choice. Eternal torture and torment in the flame pits of Tartarus and Hades, or you have to get everything that got out of the box back in the box. What's your decision? And she says, okay, I will do it. I'll probably get killed. And so she sets out on this journey with her 2 best friends, because no one in her family can accompany her. That's one of the rules. And for 7 books, they travel the known and unknown world. They go back in time. Her and her 2 best friends, Alcee and Iole, this triumvirate of girls, along with, in book 2, they meet the 16-year-old gladiator school dropout named Homer. So the 4 of them go around, and they have the wildest adventures. And these are 4 girls, tweens, pretty much, early adolescents, and they have to live by their wits and make decisions on the fly, and who's the leader, and petty jealousies and squabbles and coming together and breaking apart. And they go through what every girl and boy go through as a young adolescent. Only they are on a quest to save the world. They've got high stakes. And between the 3 of them, it's like every machination of every kind of relationship that you go through, that these girls go through, is in these books. And it's all about taking personal responsibility for your actions, which I see so little of these days. And so that's one of the reasons that I wrote this book. But it's also tremendously fun, and you meet all these incredible creatures. I mean, the gods, and then they go to Egypt, and they meet the Egyptian gods, and then they go to Rome, and they meet them, and it's an incredibly fantastical journey. It's the best thing I have ever done creatively, and it's for adults as well.
Okay.
Because I always find that, it was very cathartic for me to write it, because if we don't heal the hurt that we all go through at school, at home, are you good enough? Are you not good enough? Are you too unique? Are you not special enough? I mean, I don't want to extend my hand out to a stranger because I might be rejected. All this fear and these wounds that we get, if we do not address those, then we take them with us into adulthood, and they just make us miserable people. So, that's why therapists, big bucks. So, and very few of us ever do. We never have that catharsis, and we don't know how to handle it. So it's a really groovy series, and I recommend everybody getting it, especially if you know someone who is 9, 10, 11, 12, and up. So.
Moose wants to get back to if you got another General Hospital question.
No, we can't. No, we can't. We're talking about Pandora.
No more. But no, you work with. So wait, Moose Gal's question, real quick. But your animals that you work with now, do you get like behind the scenes access with the zoos? Can you like go and pet a panda or some shit like when nobody's looking?
I can pet a lot of things at the zoos. Yes, I can. Because I'm a huge advocate for animals. And being an advocate for animals, not an activist, But an advocate means that you understand the necessity for modern zoos and aquariums, not the roadside attractions, not
Right.
but these last arcs of preservation and conservation. And when they're great, they're the best things in the world because they're saving species on a daily basis. We lose 150 species of animals off this planet a day.
Oh,
Yeah, really. I mean, sometimes they're just like little amoebas or bugs or something, but 150 a day. And when the big animals start going, humans are not far behind. So yeah, I do get, I get to go and see the condors up close and personal, and Billy, my fabulous boyfriend, Billy the elephant, who's treated so beautifully it makes my head spin, at the LA Zoo, and I get to have a little trunk time with Billy.
All right, Moose Girl, she says, I know some of this I'm gonna have to read verbatim because a lot of this I'm not familiar with. I know that the love story between Luke and Laura is always talked about, but I love Diane Miller and Max Giambetti's character on General Hospital too. I was surprised that Diane fell in love.
So was I. With a younger man. See, it's always the younger man. Yeah, and we talk about Max a lot on the show. We don't see Dirk anymore because Dirk is in Nashville. Dirk Cheatwood, who played Max, he's in Nashville and he's doing his own thing, and he's kind of, he's not really, I don't think he misses General Hospital at all. But I miss him on the show. I miss Max. So I think that, I think Diane needs somebody new. That's just my thought.
Well, we'll see coming up on a new episode of General Hospital. You
A
should
new
get a voiceover job.
very special episode. Yeah, it's a holiday episode.
On a very special episode of General Hospital. See, I can do that job. All right. Is there anything else do you want to promote, and how do people get a hold of you?
People can get a hold. I mean, just find me, and I'm always promoting stuff. I really want to promote the books, because the books, and there's also for you General Hospital fans, there's The Secret Life of Damien Spinelli, which is wonderful. It's a great fun book which I wrote for ABC Disney. But you can find me, Carolyn Hennesy, is CarolynHennessy, short spelling, and I'm on the gram, as the kids call it, and Facebook and Twitter, and I'm doing a movie now, with a young boy he's a young man. Everyone's younger than I am, so I just go with it. Named Griffin, who is a TikTok star, and so I may go on TikTok.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
I've never been on TikTok. I don't think
I know. It's hard. It's
hard.
It's whole new. It's like the Wild West. But you can find me, and then I've got my my website, CarolynHennessy.com.
What was the name of the books again? The kids books.
The first book is called Pandora Gets Jealous. And then it's Pandora Gets Vain, Pandora Gets Lazy, Pandora. So if you look up on Amazon or on Barnes and Noble, Pandora Gets Jealous, you can just that's the gateway drug.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to thank Miss Carolyn Hennesy for joining us, taking time out of your day to come and talk with my goofy ass and all my fun friends here. And next week, be sure to join us at a special time, 5:30, former Brown Star Nick Spiegel and current chiropractor in New Mexico will be joining the show. And we'll talk to you guys later. So like and subscribe to the show if you haven't already. I appreciate having you on, Carolyn. It was so much
my pleasure. Thank you. Again, we'll do it again.
All right, for sure. We'll talk to you.